It's March 18th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with South Korea's addition to the U.S. sensitive countries list. Seoul's foreign ministry says the inclusion is linked to security concerns related to government-related research institutes, not foreign policy. In fact, a U.S. Department of Energy laboratory contractor employee was reportedly terminated after attempting to fly to South Korea with reactor design software. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development projects the South Korean economy to expand just 1.5% in 2025, pointing to deepening trade barriers and escalating geopolitical uncertainties as reasons for the downward revision. A springtime cold snap here in South Korea has brought heavy snow to the capital region as well as Chungcheong and Gangwon areas. It's expected to snow throughout the entire day, with the spring chill to linger until Wednesday morning. South Korea's addition to the U.S. sensitive countries list has been explained by the government, which stated it's due to security concerns at U.S. research facilities. Our Kim Jong-sil starts us off.
Following communication with the U.S., Seoul's foreign ministry confirmed that South Korea's inclusion in the lowest tier of the U.S. Energy Department's sensitive and other designated countries list is due to security-related issues rather than foreign policy concerns. Seoul also clarified that U.S. officials said the designation will not significantly impact joint energy research or technology cooperation. The ministry further highlighted that South Korea has been on the list in the past and was removed through similar diplomatic efforts. It is said that the inclusion follows an incident where security regulations at Idaho National Laboratory, a research institution under the U.S. Energy Department, were breached. In its semi-annual report to Congress for the period ending March last year, the Energy Department listed an instance where a contractor was terminated after boarding a flight to South Korea with nuclear reactor design software. The investigation involving the FBI and Homeland Security revealed the employee's knowledge of export restrictions and communication with a foreign government. The U.S. is said to have explained this case as one of several security regulation breaches. South Korean Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy An Deok-keun is set to visit the U.S. this week to discuss the issue with his counterpart. Seoul is committed to engaging with Washington to resolve the issue before the designation takes effect on April 15th. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump's top economic aide on Monday warned of more economic uncertainty stemming from Washington's evolving tariff policy. Speaking to CNBC's Squawk Box on Monday, U.S. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hess said there will be some uncertainty between now and April 2nd. Referring to the date, Trump is set to unveil his reciprocal tariff plans. His comments come as market analysts and business leaders have criticized the sweeping tariff announcements, which have led to volatility in the markets. However, Hess defended Trump's tariffs against Mexico, Canada, and China, calling them very positive developments, adding things will clear up after April 2nd. The OECD has yet again signaled a slowdown in South Korea's growth prospects, citing trade tensions and geopolitical uncertainties. Our Moon Hye-deon reports.
Steering through uncertainty is what the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is calling the current global economic situation, forecasting a gradual slowdown in global economic growth over the next 3 years. Its interim economic outlook published on Monday anticipates that global economic growth will moderate, projecting figures of 3.1% for 2025 and 3% for 2026. Notably, the growth forecast for this year has been revised downwards by 0.2 percentage points compared to the previous projection given in December last year. The OECD highlights that while the global economy has remained resilient, recent economic activity indicators suggest a softening of global growth prospects. Significant changes in trade policies were outlined as a critical concern, as the new Trump administration rolls out sweeping tariffs, warning that these shifts could impede economic growth and contribute to rising inflation. The organization also noted that inflationary pressures persist across numerous nations. Regional variations in economic performance are expected. In the United States, growth is projected to slow due to the implementation of increased tariffs, with forecasts of 2.2% this year, while China's economy is expected to maintain relatively robust growth, with forecasts of 4.8% in 2025. However, Canada and Mexico are projected to be severely negatively impacted by the new U.S. tariffs. As for the South Korean economy, it is projected to grow at a subdued pace of 1.5% this year and 2.2% next year. The 2025 South Korea growth projection has also been revised downwards, reflecting the general trend of reduced growth forecasts among major economies, and falls in line with forecasts from other major institutions. The Bank of Korea adjusted its forecast for domestic economic growth this year also to 1.5% back in February, while the Korea Development Institute revised its forecast to 1.6%. Going forward, the OECD's policy recommendations advise central banks to navigate potential increases in trade costs and has called for international cooperation to address trade concerns, structural reforms to promote competition, and support for growth in productivity through the integration of artificial intelligence technologies. 문혜련, Arirang News.
South Korea is experiencing an unusual spring chill, resulting in heavy mid-March snow. Our Lee Soo-jin has this report.
As winter makes an unexpected return to South Korea, Seoul has been issued its latest ever heavy snow advisory. According to the Korean Meteorological Administration, over 10 centimeters of snow accumulated in the northern part of the capital between 8 p.m. on Monday and 6 a.m. on Tuesday. In the county of Cheonan in Gangwon-do province, 14 centimeters of snow accumulated over the same period, while significant snowfall of more than 10 centimeters of snow was also recorded in cities in Gyeonggi-do province. Heavy snow advisories, which are issued for a region when at least 5 centimeters of snow is expected to accumulate over a period of 24 hours, were issued for the Seoul metropolitan area as well as in parts of Chungcheong-do provinces, Jeollado provinces, Gyeongsang-do provinces, and Jeju Island. And a heavy snow warning issued when snowfall is expected to exceed 20 centimeters within the same period was issued for Gangwon-do province. For Seoul, this marks the latest ever heavy snow advisory issued, surpassing the previous record set on March 9, 2010. This year's unusual mid-March snowfall was caused by an Arctic vortex, a large rotating mass of cold air bringing Arctic colder with temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees Celsius into the country. With heavy snow advisories issued nationwide, the Interior Ministry activated a Level 1 Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters emergency response posture and raised the nation's crisis alert level for heavy snow from the lowest level attention to caution. But the heavy snowfall has already resulted in accidents. Around 12:50 a.m. today in the city of Ansan in Gyeonggi-do province, a car skidded on a snowy road and collided with a median barrier, killing the driver while other vehicles were damaged by debris. While the snow and rain falling nationwide are expected to gradually ease by the afternoon, to prevent further accidents, local governments are deploying automatic de-icing equipment and personnel to clear roads. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Many are expecting the Constitutional Court to rule on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment case later this week. Now, what's taking the justices so long? We turn to legal expert Jung Hwang this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So what do you think the 8 justices are contemplating at this stage? I mean, didn't the court stress a speedy ruling?
Right. I think the attack that we saw on Seoul Western District Court probably has spooked this court. So I think they're probably taking extra care to make sure that they're crafting their written decision to be as criticism-proof as possible. I mean, obviously, there are people on both sides of the issue who are so, firmly, entrenched in their beliefs that no matter what the Constitutional Court says, they will not be happy if the decision does not go as they would like the decision to go. So it will be impossible to please everyone. But at the same time, I think the court realized that not only are they will they be talking to South Korean people in general, they're talking to the history as well. So I think they're crafting a decision that will basically stand up to the scrutiny of the history as well as the entire nation.
Well, some are betting that Thursday or Friday to be the day the ruling is announced now, but some even expect it to happen as late as next week. Which day are you betting on?
At this point, I'm pretty agnostic about, what day is going to be. I mean, obviously, everybody would like to see this process sped up, but at the same time, I think the court would be, if I'm in their shoes, and I'm just, kind of imagining myself in their shoes, is that I'll be a little more worried about making sure that the actual written decision that'll go out is as perfect as I make it, rather than making sure that it's, either this week or a few days. I don't think, in the grand scheme of things, a few days here, a few days there will make that much of a difference.
Like you mentioned, I'm sure the justices will pour extra efforts into drawing up their final statements, considering the gravity of the case. Now, what kind of statements do you think will be included once the verdict is delivered?
Well, fundamentally, these judges tend to be institutionalists in the sense that they would like to uphold the rule of law, they would like to make sure the Constitution is upheld and so forth. And I doubt they have too much personal loyalty either on any, the political spectrum that people suspect. So I think their message is that, the rule of law stands, and for these reasons, we decide as follows. And I think they're trying to make their case as persuasive to as many Koreans as possible. And I suspect that's why they're taking this time, because, obviously 8 justices have to, agree with each other. So I think they're trying to craft a persuasive case. At the same time, they all need to agree at the same time. And I fully expect to see an 8-0 decision at the end of the day.
Definitely, it's going to be a ruling that cannot satisfy everybody at the end of the day. Now, I know Yoon's legal team said no, but do you think President Yoon make a statement before the ruling day? What do you think?
I mean, that's really hard to tell. I mean, President Yoon has proven to be a very unpredictable person, to say the least. But his steadfast strategy has been to rile up his core base supporters on the sort of far-right fringe of the South Korean society. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls some surprise that will be designed to rile up his supporters once again.
Well, then the question is, will the ruling and opposition parties be able to draw a joint message following the verdict? Because I remember back in 2017, they did when former President Park Geun-hye was ousted, right?
Right. Right now, the political landscape is much different from 2017. South Korean society is much more polarized. I mean, that's evidently basically demonstrated by the attack on the Western Seoul District Court. And I really do hope that we can avoid a violent outburst like that. But I am concerned, and I'm concerned at what kind of, society we'll enter into if something like that happens.
Right. But at the end of the day, we all want peace and security and, of course, the democracy. Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us, as always, this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he's going to call Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the potential ceasefire agreement for the Ukraine crisis. Our Lee Seung-ja reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Monday that he plans to have a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday to discuss putting an end to the Ukraine war. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump announced the date of the planned phone call, adding that a lot of work has been done over the past weekend to bring ceasefire discussion into fruition. When asked if he thought Russia would agree to a 30-day ceasefire, Trump voiced optimism. Ahead of the planned phone call, the White House said Monday that a deal to finally put an end to more than 3 years of war is closer than it has ever been. Speaking to reporters, White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said that they're on the 10th yard line of peace, adding that they've never been closer to a peace deal than this moment. She stressed that Trump is determined to get the deal done. Meanwhile, the European Union warned Trump not to trust Russia ahead of his phone call with Putin. EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, said at a press conference following the EU foreign ministers' meetings in Brussels on Monday that the consensus among the member countries is that Russia cannot be fully trusted. Kallas pointed out that Russia did not immediately accept the 30-day ceasefire deal agreed upon by the U.S. and Ukraine, adding that Russia will use the opportunity to make demands. EU foreign ministers at the meeting also discussed providing Ukraine with a new military aid package worth over $43 billion. The EU believes that additional military aid is urgent for Ukraine's security, as Washington is pushing for a quick end-of-war agreement. 이승재, Arirang News.
A U.S. Army Major General stationed in South Korea said the recent South Korea-U.S. joint military drill was not a nuclear war exercise. Major General William Taylor, who is serving as the operations chief of the UN Command and the combined U.S.-Korea forces, made the remark in an interview on Tuesday with Yonhap News Agency. When asked about North Korea's criticism of the Freedom Shield exercises, a joint drill military training program that started on March 10th, which the North claims are rehearsals for invasion. He also emphasized that all exercises are being conducted in accordance with international law. Also, when asked about the possibility of the U.S. reducing or withdrawing U.S. troops from Korea, he said the U.S. is focused on maintaining strong forces capable of ensuring regional security. In other news, the story of taste, especially that of sweetness as well as bitterness, begin in the brain with intriguing power dynamics. Our Cha Young tells us more.
As fruit flies are often used as experimental models, researchers created genetically engineered fruit flies that are vitalized when their sensory neurons are activated. When their sensory neurons for sweet taste were activated, they suppressed the sensory neurons for bitter taste. On the other hand, when sensory neurons for bitter taste were activated, those for sweet taste were not suppressed. This is because sensory neurons for sweet taste can control those for bitter tastes.
When sensory neurons for sweet taste are activated, those for bitter tastes are suppressed due to the electric field from the sweet-activated sensory neurons. As a result, when there are bitter and sweet tastes at the same time, the bitter tastes are eliminated.
The researchers explained that this principle could be the reason why black coffee tastes bitter, while coffee mixtures with sugar taste less bitter or fruit juices taste less sour. As a mechanism of the suppression interaction among sensory neurons for taste has been uncovered from fruit fly experiments, researchers expect that this will help with experiments on sensory neurons of different species, including animals and eventually people. Cha Young, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Following a series of U.S. airstrikes targeting Yemen's Houthi rebels over the weekend, President Donald Trump on Monday issued a warning to Iran regarding its support for the group. Trump emphasized that any future assaults by the Houthis will be regarded as direct actions by Iran and promised severe repercussions. Taking to social media, he said every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran, and Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. The White House reinforced the stance, indicating that Iran should take the United States warnings seriously. Meanwhile, the Pentagon reported that over 30 Houthi sites have been targeted so far and vowed to continue using overwhelming lethal force to protect international maritime commerce until the group ceases its attacks. The European Union and its international partners have pledged substantial financial aid to support Syria and its neighboring countries during a critical transition period following the ousting of its former leader. At a conference held in Brussels on Monday, donors committed approximately $6.3 billion in aid for Syria and its neighbors, with the EU pledging nearly $2.7 billion. This year's total pledges are lower than the $8.2 billion raised last year, partly due to reductions in the United States foreign aid budget. Meanwhile, Syria's interim government participated in the conference for the first time, with its foreign minister in attendance.
Thank you very much.
Rwanda announced it officially cut diplomatic ties with Belgium on Monday, citing interference in regional matters. The Rwandan government announced that all Belgian diplomats must depart within 48 hours, raising concerns about escalating bilateral tensions. The decision follows accusations that Belgium has cited against Rwanda with regard to the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda insists that Belgium has taken sides in the regional conflict and continues to mobilize against Rwanda in various forums, employing what it describes as lies and manipulation to destabilize the region. Finally, in the United States, New York City celebrated its 264th annual St. Patrick's Day parade on Monday local time, attracting approximately 2 million spectators and featuring 150,000 marchers. Participants included school bands, Irish pipe and drum ensembles, and uniformed personnel from the police and fire departments. Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul were among the attendees and also wore green for the occasion. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the annual tradition of dyeing the Chicago River green with an eco-friendly dye, a practice that began in 1962, was once again observed.
A spring storm hit most of Korea with snowy surprise, with a heavy snow advisory issued yesterday in the capital, the latest on the record. Overnight, Seoul received nearly 7 centimeters of snowfall, and it will keep piling up through the mid-afternoon, with 1 to 5 centimeters more snow in store. East of Gangwon-do province could see 40 centimeters or more. Mountainous regions in Gyeongsang-Pukto province may see up to 20 centimeters. Heavy snow alerts remain in place for most parts. Strong winds will also be an issue, especially on Jeju Island and western regions, with wind advisories being in place. Temperatures remain on the chilly side throughout the day. Highs will be similar to yesterday, topping out at 7 degrees in the capital. Busan only makes it to 8 degrees. On the bright side, warmer days are ahead. Starting Thursday, we'll see a sharp turnaround as a warming trend takes over. Sunny skies return and temperatures will climb, melting away today's snow fairly quickly. So for today, bundle up and drive safely.
That is all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.